China has recently launched the third aircraft carrier Fujian, and there are reports that Chinese would be sending long-range patrols to Indian Ocean, and already they are doing those same exercises in the Indo-Pacific. So you have coercion in South China Sea, you have gunboat diplomacy, and you have a host of countries which are more than happy to accommodate China, particularly in the Indian Ocean, or to name it, maybe like Maldives. How are we prepared to handle China when the PLA Navy expands in such a way next year?
I would say, quite honestly, we need to be very considered in our assessment about which countries will work with China to what degree. Because when countries do work with China, it has both implications, it has costs, it has consequences. If they also happen to be countries in our immediate neighborhood, and we feel something is happening there that has implications for our national security, then we start looking at that country or those sets of countries with the national security as a primary filter. So then the nature of the relationship with that country obviously adjusts accordingly. I think in some ways we are also today reaping the consequences of our own misjudgment. 15 years ago, we watched very complacently when the Chinese built Hambantota port. Okay. At that time, there was a very fashionable description for it called a string of pearls. And a very senior figure in the UPA regime said a string of pearls is a strange murder weapon. They were completely dismissive of any implications for us, because the underlying thought was that China doesn't threaten us. And I must tell you, as a civil servant, you put up with a lot of things. The government of the day ultimately takes a call, but there was great unease within the system. Just think about it today. Okay. It would be ludicrous to people that China was designated as a strategic partner of India. But we did. There's actually a written agreement. And I still remember one of my earliest conversations, actually of all people, with my colleague now, General V.K. Singh. V.K. Singh, I think, was Eastern Army Commander. He was my first visitor as ambassador. And he asked me, he said, look, explain to me. We have all these problems with this guy. This guy has claims on my territory. He said, you are confusing all of us in the military by designating him as a strategic partner. So we don't know what to make of it. So I think it's important to have a clear sense, because whatever happens to the north, to the south, to the east, west, if we don't have strategic clarity, that's your starting point. If the government of the day begins by confusing its entire system,